كل اللي احنا بنتكلم عنه طول الوقت من تطوير التعليم والمناهج اللي احنا تعاملنا مع كبرى المؤسسات العالمية في تطويرها، وازاي اتحطت على أسس تبقى عالمية وتنفع أولادنا ولكنها مصرية جدا جدا كمان في نفس الوقت، عشان الهوية والثقافة المصرية برضو تفضل موجودة مهما كانت المناهج عالمية. واحنا طبعا هنا في كايرو ICT بنتكلم زي ما انتم شايفين كل حاجه متطوره قوي وتكنولوجي وحاجه يعني ما حصلتش، فده طبعا بيواكب جدا تطوير التعليم في المناهج وفي الكتب اللي الاولاد بيستلموها. بس هل التطوير مناهج وكتب وبس وبتبقى ماشيه في طريق منفصل عن التكنولوجي الحقيقيه اللي ممكن الاولاد يستخدموها بايديهم، ولا لازم يبقوا الاثنين ملمسين مع بعض وفاتحين كده باب على بعض علشان يبقى هنا شايف هنا وهنا شايف هنا، يبقى الاولاد في الاخر اللي بيتعلموه بيطبقوه فعلا في حياتهم؟ خلينا نعرف ده اكتر ونعرف المؤسسات العالميه اللي شاركت وزاره التربيه والتعليم في ان هم يطوروا المناهج دي عملوا ايه وكانوا بيفكروا ازاي. معانا ومنورنا دلوقتي مستر مارتين موير، المدير التنفيذي مؤسسه ديسكفري education واستشاري تعليمي عالمي. Hello Mr. Martin.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. How is Mudristana doing with Discovery Education? How do you see the content that is presented on the channel?
We love to see the content on Mudristana. It's so good to see students getting great educational content from Discovery Education and to see them engaged and learning. And we hear from teachers they really like the quality of the content from Mudristana and they like to see students using it. They like to use it in their classroom themselves.
Yes. There are certain periods of in the school day that they watch Mudristana through.
Yes. It's a wonderful tool that stretches all the way across the nation. It's very helpful.
Yeah. How did it go when you were working with the Ministry of Education on putting new curriculums for children from KG1 and until grade 6?
Well, I tell you, it's been an honor for us to serve the Ministry of Education. Just the brilliant minds there have laid out a plan for Egypt to improve its education over a number of years. And to be part of that vision has been a real honor. They really helped lead the way, I think, for many countries in the region in terms of how do we help students learn and how do we help them improve.
Were there some measures that you take before putting the curriculum? There were some tailoring for the Egyptian culture?
Oh, certainly. It's very important that education be local so that students can see themselves in it and they can see something nearby so it makes sense to them. So even when we're doing, say, something like math, we want to bring in examples from a local marketplace, or we want to see animals that are familiar or cars that are familiar. And also, of course, the language. We produce our information in both Arabic and in English. And it's in modern standard Arabic when it's in a written form, but it has an Egyptian flavor when it's a verbal or spoken Arabic.
Yes, and you produce also the tech book, this book that our children from grade 4 to grade 6, they study math and science.
Yes, our whole approach to education is that learning math and science should be fun. You should learn the content.
This is a challenge where you make the education is a fun thing to do.
Yes, it's a challenge mostly for the community, as it's not perhaps the way we all grew up. But for the students, it's known to be a much better way to learn. When a student has a positive and exciting feeling about learning, they learn more. Whereas if they have a negative or kind of a sad feeling about learning, they learn less. So we really want to focus on that idea that learning is fun and it's something you'll do the rest of your life.
Yes, sure. Frankly speaking, now the student in Egypt who is studying and educated in the governmental schools in Egypt, is he taking the same education, the same level of quality that another student in a European or an American school would take?
If they're in the new education system, yes. If they're in KG through 6 right now, they're learning the same high level of challenge. And all nations have been through this change. It's not just Egypt. All the nations of the world in the last 15 years have really raised academic standards, making it much more challenging than it was when we were kids. And so that's all the more reason why it needs to be done in a fun way, and in a way that learning has an emotional connection to the student, so they'll want to learn this more challenging content.
So you're telling me when when mothers say, oh, what are you teaching our children? This is so difficult. We've never learned this way. Why do you make it so hard on our children?
Right.
That is correct. It's harder, but this is what the world needs now. That's what you're telling me?
It's harder, but that's the way the rest of the world has moved in the last 15 years. And the other change is the way that we learn it is more engaging for the students.
Yes.
Instead of memorizing and then taking a test, it's more, can I explain what I'm learning and can I explain my thinking and see it in the rest of the world? So that helps the student become a lifelong learner, not just a test taker.
Yes.
And so, yes,
This is the
it's
whole
different.
goal.
And for mommies and daddies, that's a change. And it's a change that the whole world has been going through since about 1995 or so. And that change keeps on growing. As we know, with AI coming on, the change is accelerating.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me ask you this question.
Sure.
But because you're a consultant, educational consultant, so please let me know your answer about this. Because a lot of parents would like to help their students or their children all the time with studying, and they would do sometimes their work for them.
Right.
Is this correct or not? Is this should be a duty that the parents would do at home to help their kids with education and doing homework? Or the world now needs a student who is totally independent, no matter what grade he is in. Maybe if he's in first grade, second grade, no matter what, he should be really independent.
Well, a student as young as first grade or second grade will never be fully independent. And mommy and daddy are going to need to help. But they should not provide the answer. So they want to bring the student to the learning that is going on in the school and help the child get to the answer, but not give them the answer. So it's very different than, say, 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And the mommy and the daddy really need to be more of the helper and not the person who does the work.
Yeah.
And so when you do the work for the student, it short circuits the student's learning and they will not be prepared for the next level.
Yes, I'm asking you this question because we have been learning all through our lives in a way that is much different than what our children are learning by now.
Yes.
That's why maybe helping them is so difficult on us as parents.
Yes.
And maybe learning the new way is not this difficult as for our children.
Yes.
So here it is. I don't know how I'm going to help my kids.
Right.
Am I going to help them in the right way or no? I don't know how to help them right now, so just leave the whole thing to the school.
Yes, it's a hard decision for parents. But the good news in Egypt especially is there are many tools that will help mommy and daddy. The Mudressna videos are fantastic to help the child and the parent together. And just watching those videos together and then talking about them afterwards is very powerful. It shows the student that mommy and daddy are learning along with them. And that's a very powerful message to the child.
Yes, of course. And you have been using a very high technology features, let's say, now that we're talking about innovation in the curriculums, innovation in the whole education system. We're using also a very high technology feature.
Yes.
Let's talk about this. What are the new features you're going to use as Discovery Education with the Ministry of Education?
Absolutely. So I think you've heard of generative AI.
Yes.
It's all the excitement these days. But we've had that type of product for a long time, and we're bringing that into Mudressna Plus. And so our goal is to find a place that students can get, say, tutoring in math, or tutoring if they're learning English as a new language. And that has got to be done in a way that's engaging to the student. And so we work to develop that type of tool so that it'll be ready and aligned to the curriculum. And so the teacher doesn't have to do everything. The parent doesn't have to do anything. They have many more tools than they did even just a few years ago.
Yeah. Sometimes people would say you're giving very easy ways for the children. They will not be getting this high quality of education if you just make everything so simple and easy. What do you say?
Well, I mean, I think there's an attitude among some people that education should be difficult and painful.
Yeah.
We don't believe that. We believe that education should be fun because it's something you have to do your entire life. And when we look at the people who've designed the new AI, and we look at the people who have designed, say, new vaccines or new science, they do not approach learning as painful. They approach it as a fun problem to solve. And so we want students to be able to see the world that way that the people have changed the world, so that they can be part of that world that, we can't predict.
Yes.
We don't want to build a education system that's the way we learned. We want to build an education system that'll be for students in the future.
Yes, and we now have that feature and application, which is Ask Fahim, that the students are going to use in Madasetna Plus.
Yes.
Okay, and this is a tool that you give the children a guarantee that this is a very accurate tool, a very good one that can tailor the education or the learning experience to their to what they need, to their needs exactly.
Yes.
And at the same time, this may be the answer for some parents also that would say, oh my God, ChatGPT is still under trial, maybe it's not really accurate in a lot of things. Why do you put this feature in the learning system with the children now?
Well, just like you don't want your children on YouTube just kind of entering anything, you don't want your children out in chat GPT just entering everything.
Yes.
So the great thing about Mudressna Plus is they have designed Ask Fahim to do that work for you. So you know that it is a trustworthy tool. So they've aligned it to the curriculum. They've made sure that any learning objects that the student is going to access in there is going to be high quality and approved. You're not going to accidentally type in a question about plankton and find a cartoon character from SpongeBob. You're going to find the content you need.
Okay.
That's very important.
Yes. So you say that this is a very good feature that children really need to know by now. Maybe it will help them later on with their studies and as they grow and as they go to the university.
Right.
But now a lot of people would also talk about the ethics of using the AI.
Right.
And how do teachers and parents even would maybe make sure that the children are using it in the good way. They're not cheating.
Right.
They're not making fake projects or fake researches. How do you do that?
That's a really good question, and believe it or not, there's actually products now that are being produced that will tell a teacher or a parent whether or not something was created with an AI, it's called a large language model, where they can detect the pattern, and students will basically, in the future, be expected to insert all their work through that process. And it can tell whether or not the student has created it originally or if they used an AI assistant.
Okay.
Now, in some cases, it might be really good for a student to learn how to use an AI assistant.
Yes.
Because they will be doing that for the rest of their lives.
Yes.
Right? So they need to know how to do that properly.
Thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you.
شوف الحلقة كاملة من خلال تطبيق مدرستنا بلس. مدرستنا، مستقبل يبدأ الآن.